What's up, folks? I'm here with our friend Matt Bean, who just drove down from Claremont to drop off a huge pile of our signature nomination forms. Thank you so much for collecting these. And these are in CD2,
yes,
and
sir.
we need 1,500 from CD2, 1,500 from CD1. So,
yes, sir.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got the signatures?
Yes.
What was that like?
So some of them were just knocking doors in Claremont, and then actually a couple of them were like a couple people from my flag football team.
Oh, sweet.
Nodded the sign.
Yeah.
Heard about, like, just saw my videos on
nice.
Instagram.
That's awesome.
And we're like, yeah, I like this. You know, don't really like the Democrats or the Republicans right now.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what I'm hearing when I talk to people about you.
Yeah.
And then I went to Lebanon, the Lebanon Pride event.
Oh, nice.
And got a bunch, probably like 20 there. And there, it was just like a lot of people didn't even realize that like the governor race was even going on right now.
Yeah.
And they didn't even know who the candidates were. And so they were happy that I informed them about that. And then it was, John Kuiper, Community First Economics, we need the signatures. And everyone I talked to there that I was able to talk to signed.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there wasn't a person who was like, oh, I'm not going to sign, which isn't like when I went to Concord, there was like 90% of the people. But no, Lebanon Pride, I think the Pride events are a good place to go.
Yeah, and you said you were there with some of Karishma's stuff, and
Yes.
they didn't know about the Senate race either.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't. I was there for the Christmas stuff too, and they were like, oh, there's a primary. Oh, Chris Pappas isn't that great. Oh, so, and they were also reacting to her cards too, and they were like, oh, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's super important for people that consume a lot of online content about New Hampshire politics to realize that there's a whole world of people out there that have no idea what's going on. And it's not that they don't care, it's just that they're not watching the news about New Hampshire obsessively.
No.
They're not on NH Talk watching
However,
political views.
I think most of them vote when it comes to election
that's
time.
it, they vote.
Yeah.
I found out at one of the protests where I was passing out cards and somebody said, oh, I don't really remember the primary from 2024. I don't remember who I voted for. I don't think I voted,
Yeah, I know.
And,
exactly.
It's one of those things where if people, I think, voted in primaries more, we wouldn't have a lot of the problems we got right now. So
I also think, I think the establishment uses it as a tool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't want people to be engaged because then they're not going to win those people.
Yeah.
So more than likely. So I think it's also another tool that they use. And I really think in this country right now, their establishment is scared. I think they see a lot of progressive candidates and they're scared.
Yeah.
They're scared.
And I think they should be.
They should be scared.
I think that's good. I think Graham Platner's primary win in Maine was pretty massive. I think that he's got a pretty good chance of beating Susan Collins.
I agree.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I certainly hope he does.
Yeah. And I think, some of the things that they've done with Graham is evident that they're scared.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say that he's like didn't do stuff that was fantastic. However, compare it to Trump and what the Republicans do, number one, and number two, it's like, the Democrats didn't care when there was allegations against Joe Biden or Andrew Cuomo, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
But they care because why? Because Platner is fighting for the working people and will take these guys on.
Yeah, and it seems like the voters in Maine obviously didn't care.
No.
I think Platner got the most votes of any primary candidate ever.
That's
or
what I
something
read
like that.
too.
So clearly it wasn't a factor. And I was thinking the whole time, like you take a guy, send him off to war.
Yeah.
2 tours, and then expect him to be an angel when he gets home. It's a little bit unrealistic.
That's not how it works.
And just not fair to the veterans themselves.
No, he's been very open that he came back with PTSD and, and that's real. And if you haven't been to war, you really can't, in my opinion, you haven't seen that stuff, so you can't really
judge.
That's my opinion.
And I personally would like people in the Senate who have been to war and probably aren't going to vote to send my kid to war.
100%. Yeah, I don't think Graham Platner is going to do that. I think Graham, his story is interesting, that they just like went and found him and recruited him. Did you know that?
I was hearing that recently because I was a little bit, frankly, jealous because so in Maine, the Democrats also need to get 2,000 signatures to get on the ballot for the primary. And I only found this out because there was a woman who was running.
Just for the Democratic primary?
Yeah, for the primary. Wow. And there was a woman who was on the ballot as a write-in, and I didn't understand why, and it turned out because she didn't get the signatures. But he got his signatures. He had 150 volunteers, and they got him basically in like 1 or 2 weekends, right at the beginning of when they needed him. And what I learned apparently is that there was an organization that basically had already been set up in the state, and they recruited him up, so already had the infrastructure to kind of like push him forward, which I think something that the Community First Party needs to
100%.
look at that as a model. And
I agree with you, and that's like I'm in the Community First Party because I support you and I support your policies, and I have for a long time. But I'm also in it because I don't think the Democrats have done their job. Just because they aren't doing the fascism. They're not doing much to stop the fascism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to me, that's like the same thing. And then the other thing is just like having like community first values. I really believe in that. And I really, I read your book, and, the messaging problem that the Democrats or the left or whatever you want to call it has had is a real issue.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Platner's done so well, because he's really good with the microphone in front of his face.
Yeah.
And the messaging.
Yeah.
And, he kind of codes as like a MAGA guy because he's got the hat and he kind of drives a truck, and, and I think that helps him too, but he's totally not. He's just in the establishment, against the establishment.
Totally. And we were talking about a funny Graham Platner ad, or you were telling me about it before, with the Red Sox. You want to tell that?
So I'm a big sports fan, and I've been a Red Sox fan all my life. And right now, if you don't follow, they're terrible. They're one of the worst teams in the league. And Graham Platner made an ad about private equity and how it's sucking out resources from everywhere, including he said he was a baseball fan, and including his favorite baseball team.
So that's what happened with the Red Sox. Is basically private equity.
Private equity, John Henry, who's owned the Red Sox for a long time, the Red Sox had the curse and they broke it. Yeah. They won some championships. And now he's basically said, okay, don't really care about the Red Sox anymore. And we're going to spend like 15th in payroll. And I'm going to take these resources and I'm going to have a racing team. And I'm going to have my soccer team in Liverpool. And I'm going to have, and now the Red Sox are just like, but he's using like the Red Sox name, like his group's called Fenway Sports Group or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So, and there's a revolt starting. Like fans are like yelling, "Sell the team!" at chanting, sell the team at games, and like I think they fired Alex Cora and Jason Varitek, which was. But anyway, so Platner made an ad about it, and he was like, "Private equity sucking out our favorite baseball teams. We can't have anything nice, and the Reds, and it aired on Nesson like a couple times. Nesson is the network that the Red Sox
New England Sports Network.
Yeah, which is also owned by John Henry.
Yeah.
That's a big part of this. And then it ran a couple times, and then they pulled it. And Platner came out with a statement about it, said they pulled it. They said it was because of the font, and because he used like the Red Sox like font or whatever, so they said it was copyright. But then 2 weeks later, I was watching the Red Sox game, and I wasn't even paying attention. My wife points out, and there she was like, "Oh, there's an ad for Susan Collins on Nesson."
Yeah.
So, connect the dots there. They say it was because of the font, but it was really because Platner made an ad calling them out on not caring about the Red Sox, basically.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just, everything's intertwining, I think.
That's interesting, yeah.
I think, the majority of sports ownership are billionaires. Pretty much all of them.
Sure.
All of them are.
Sense. Yeah.
So, they're all part of that group, and they're all part of that elite.
Yeah.
And they don't like Graham Platner.
Yeah,
They don't like Bernie Sanders. They don't like John Kuiper.
Yeah.
They don't like Karishma. They don't like these people.
Yeah.
Mamdani, even the Knicks owner threw shade at Mamdani yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Mamdani made a great speech about, the Knicks winning the NBA championship, and he like said something that was like, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't get rid of all the billionaires in the city or something." and Mamdani's like, whatever. So yeah.
So what's been going on in Claremont? Obviously you grew up there. You used to work in the school system. You don't anymore. I was just reading this. There was a couple of Reddit posts in the New Hampshire subreddit that were kind of interesting. It was really hard to tell. Obviously things get kind of blown up there, sensationalized. But somebody was posting all of the jobs they were hiring for, not just in the school, but in the town. Like building inspector, rec department.
Yeah, well, the rec department director is now gone.
Oh, and maybe going to, or they got maybe arrested.
Yeah, they got arrested
for using money.
I don't know the details, but they got so that's going on. The school is still like we still don't know everything that like went down. it's still kind of a mess. They're still putting things back together. The comptroller is still finding invoices and having to redo the whole ledger all the time. Like, it's still
crazy.
It's crazy. There's only like 5 people working in the SAU office, so it's incredibly hard to getting things done. The Claremont Middle School, we're worried about because, so at the beginning of the school year, the Claremont School District they had to get rid of, like, they hired a bunch of teachers, and then all this blew up, and then they had to not hire those teachers. So I think there was about 20 teachers that were supposed to like start, and then they were like, sorry guys, we can't hire you because we don't have money. And then on top of that, particularly at the middle school, from what I understand, people left on top of that.
Yeah.
So there's like 20 open positions at Claremont Middle School right now. So that's going to come to a head in July. We have a school board meeting in July, and it's basically they've hired a new superintendent.
Yeah.
I worked in the Claremont School District, just for disclosure, for 7 years. As I've still coached for Stevens, but it's like a much stipend position.
Yeah.
For 7 years, and then before all this went down in last summer, my contract was non-renewed. That's why I don't work for Claremont anymore. And I didn't know they didn't give me a reason. Told me it wasn't the right fit. All this stuff. Regardless, I'm working in Vermont now. I'm very happy. But that was kind of a precursor, because then 2 months later they were like, "Oh, we have a $5 million deficit," and everything blew up. And they had to fire the superintendent. They had to fire the business administrator. They had to bring in lawyers. They had to appoint people that they just didn't. And it's still, we're here in June, and they're still picking up the pieces, from what I understand.
Yeah.
We don't know. There might be a deficit that he doesn't really know right now, I guess. At the beginning of next school year, we'll know in July. Will be much smaller, from what I understand. It was 5 million. It might be like 1 million or something like that.
Okay.
So things have gotten better, but it's still like from what I understand from talking to people who work there, including my wife, the communication's still poor. People still don't know what's going on. It's still very disorganized. Every day is kind of just like a get through it type of thing.
Yeah.
So
do you think how much of it was some underlying issue in Claremont with whatever superintendent or whatever, or just like the ongoing problem of schools in New Hampshire not being funded properly, or both? It's
definitely both.
Yeah.
There was definitely a significant amount of mismanagement, but Claremont's been fighting for funding since the 1990s when Andrew Valinsky went there and won, but they then still never got their funding, because the state can just say, "Oh, in our view, we're funding education adequately," even though they're not, and the Supreme Court keeps telling them they're not.
Yeah.
So I think part of it was just like not getting the money from the state, but we didn't want to cut stuff, and we didn't want to like have hard conversations, and we didn't want a lot of and a lot of inadequate management from superintendents, and high turnover like every couple of years. It just piled up, and it eventually got to a point where they couldn't ignore it.
Yeah.
I guess I feel like is what happened. And now they're still picking up the pieces, and the new superintendent, who seems very affluent and seems like who he knows, he takes over July 1st. So
okay.
He's from Prospect Mountain School.
Yeah.
He seems affluent. He seems like he knows what he's getting into, but he's been real. He's saying, we're going to have more hard conversations. Like, we don't really, I think July will be figured, because like they got to do something if they can't operate one of the schools. So, and we already shut down a school. We already shut down Bluff Elementary School, which have been talked about for a long time, and with declining enrollment, I actually worked there for a year. It was a great neighborhood school. Yeah. People in the community really, really felt strongly about it. I think you went to a meeting where
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a heated meeting. People did not want to close that school, especially right at the beginning of the year. Yeah. But it happened, and people are hoping that we don't have to do that again, because there's studies that show like when you do that, like the education of the kids, it sets back like a year. Yeah. Like when you like move them around and like do that kind of stuff and have all that. So to do that again to the kids in Claremont next year, how far are you setting back their education? Like,
so is there 2 elementary schools still open?
There's 2, yes. Yeah. So there was 3, there are now 2. There's 2 elementary schools, a middle school, and high school.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's 1,700 kids in Claremont. It's not like it's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not huge, but it's not like it's like Newport where there's like 500 or Windsor, Vermont, where I teach now, where there's like 600 kids in the entire school district.
Yeah.
It's kind of, in that area, it's kind of a bigger place.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids to service. And the new and this doesn't surprise me at all, but he said that, like, we're going towards like 40% are on IEPs.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's because, I mean, in my view, like growing up in Claremont, a lot of that has to do with the poverty and the trauma. And that just, I mean, obviously some kids have disabilities because they're genetic, but sometimes your brain, like, if you have trauma and like you have autism, like both your brains are wired differently. So sometimes if you have trauma, I think you can get, that's why, and like there's a whole special ed crisis, like 50% of the IEPs didn't get renewed on time this year because there wasn't enough people. Like it's not good.
Yeah. So they didn't keep up with the paperwork.
No, they couldn't.
Yeah.
Because they're just, like, I heard that there was one case manager at Stevens High School that had like 80 kids or something. Like,
yeah.
It's like you can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
It's not possible. So
it's interesting because like I've heard the same problem with the superintendents in other towns. I mean, like we went through, I think it was, I want to say 5 or 6 superintendents in about as many years.
it's crazy.
And like I don't know what it is with the school superintendents that it seems like there's some areas where there's just a lot of high turnover, and they get paid really pretty well.
They get paid great. Like
because one of the things about Newmarket is like we are, there's no other towns coming to Newmarket High School. Like and is that the same for Claremont?
I mean, mostly like Unity. That's like that. Like they have choice, so they can go to Claremont, they could go to Newport, they could go.
Oh, Newport has its own high school?
Newport does have it for now. They have very declining numbers.
So are they talking at all about a regional high school? Or
I mean, it would be I haven't heard any conversations. I think the problem is the two towns, Claremont and Newport, they don't really get along.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Would it be a smart thing to do? Probably.
Where's the closest regional high school?
So there's Kearsarge Regional. Well,
Yeah.
Fall Mountain. Fall Mountain
Mountain,
would be.
okay.
Because Fall Mountain does Charlestown. Fall Mountain does like Ackworth, Walpole.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole. And that's a pretty good school district, the Fall Mountain School District. I actually almost went to work there.
Yeah.
But
because it seems like with the declining enrollment, it's really the only thing you can do.
And so it's funny because working in Vermont, which is, in my opinion, has a very good education system, but they're going through New Hampshire's trying to like change the things that there's people in Vermont right now that are trying to New Hampshire their education system.
I know, because they went the complete other way, where basically, right, the state said, okay, we're gonna collect all the money and allocate it out per student.
Yeah.
And what they sort of learned, if I'm understanding it correctly, is that like it actually costs sometimes a lot more to educate a kid in a rural area where you have to bus them long distances. And so I remember at one point they had, I think they hired a consultant. The consultant was like, oh, you should consolidate school districts. And it would require some of the kids to be on the bus for like an hour and a half a day. And so it was like, on paper, you're like, okay, we got to consolidate. But when you actually look at it, you're like, all right, so the kid's going to be on the bus for an hour and a half. Is that fair?
It just reminded me that like, even though it's going on everywhere around the country, like it's just on the opposite. They're trying to like Vermont has way more like resources in their schools. They have more like therapists and like special ed services, and they pay them better. But the proposals that are coming from their state government right now are like, going from like I don't know how many are in Vermont right now, but going from like 100 school districts to like 12.
Wow.
Like it's crazy. They're dealing with their own stuff, and and they have a lot of great policies that they have universal childcare starting at age 3 in Vermont.
Wow.
They have school lunch in Vermont. Like it's a very Bernie Sanders type place. But they've had this Phil Scott, this Republican governor, for a while now, and he's trying to like kind of do what we do in New Hampshire in Vermont. And I don't think it's going to go over the people in Vermont, but it's not. I mean, it's just reminding me that like, damn, this stuff's happening everywhere. So,
I mean, that's definitely something I learned when I was writing the book, is that the property taxes funding education is like a global phenomenon, global issue, and other countries have sort of dealt with it in different ways. But that, fundamentally, when you're using the value of property to fund education. A place with poor property values are going to have poor education.
That's just how, 100%.
Yeah.
That's what happens to Claremont. Not that Claremont's all poor, but like it's just there's a high percentage of poverty.
Has there ever been a time when you were living in Claremont and like a lot of the spots in downtown were full, like a lot of the
Before
commercial
Walmart.
spots? Oh, really? Before Walmart?
Before Walmart came in, which I don't really remember, but my parents do and have talked about it. I don't know when Walmart came in. I want to say 1990s.
Yeah.
But so you visited Claremont, but
Yeah.
that Pleasant Street used to be packed. Like if I talked to my grandparents and my mom and dad who lived in Claremont, they're told like it used to be vibing down there, like all kinds of grand pop shops, like everything. You go get your groceries down there. Walmart came in, Market Basket too, and Hannaford, and kind of cleaned out the small businesses. Man.
And sucked out everything, all the business out of town, down to the strip.
Yeah, and now, exactly, down to the strip. And like, to be honest with you, I mean, a lot of people like around the area come to Claremont to shop because that's Walmart but like in New Hampshire, there's no sales tax, so it doesn't really
help the town.
It doesn't really contribute to your community.
Yeah.
And in this situation, it's just a bunch of big corporations who get tax breaks to come to the town.
Yeah.
So, like we just got a Wendy's and Chipotle in Claremont. I'm like, great, but what kind of tax break are they getting? Well, I pay out my butt on property taxes,
Yeah, what are they getting?
Yeah.
Do you think downtown's getting better? I mean, it seems
people are trying really hard. Like, there are good things down there that we had, the Jamaican shop down there. I don't know if you saw that. The guitar shop, I know you saw.
Yeah, we went and talked to them.
There's a new burger restaurant. There's a haircut place that I get my haircut there. That's all small business. But it used to be more.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But that's what happens when
Walmartification.
So that was a big, thing. And then I think the Walmartification and then just the rising property taxes, it's just hard for small businesses.
People out.
Yeah. It's super hard for small businesses.
Yeah, the guy that owns the guitar shop, what is it, Raven?
Yeah.
Raven House Guitar. He was saying that one of the reasons that they moved there was because, him and his wife could buy a house in the area and the rent was just considerably cheaper than it would have been, in a bigger city. So hopefully that will, drive some economic development.
Yeah, I just think, if we just got some help from the state for the schools, man, it would help. It just, we've been asking for it for a long time and it just hasn't happened. And
How do you
that's why I'm supporting you.
Yeah. How do you think? So one thing that I've kind of thought about was like, if the state was funding a greater chunk of the school, they're probably going to want a greater chunk of like oversight, and management of the school.
Yeah. Well, of course.
And like one thing I heard recently was Pittsfield actually has outsourced their admin for their school to Concord.
Really?
And I thought that was kind of interesting.
It's interesting. I'm not saying it's bad.
I didn't know that was a thing you could do.
Me either.
But it makes you wonder about just ways that you could potentially save money and get the money back into like the pockets of the teachers or whatever by, consolidating some of the administration work. I mean, like we have one superintendent for our two schools in New Market.
So I was, for 3 years, I was the para-union president.
Oh, yeah.
And I ran the union basically by myself. I was the board. And, but I did the math when it comes to like administration and then like teachers, paras, custodians, secretaries. And it's like 40% of the budget's for administration. And then like the 60% is to fund teachers, paras, secretaries, custodians, sports, like everything else. And then there's a wealth distribution issue there.
With how much they're getting paid.
Yeah. I just think
so you think there is some relevance to the argument that like there's too much administration?
I do.
You hear that?
I do. Yeah. I do hear that. That doesn't mean, and I want to be clear, that doesn't mean I don't think we shouldn't have principals because we need but I do think there's a bloated bureaucracy, especially not in the schools. I'm talking about in like the administration buildings.
Yeah, and I think the teachers would probably
most teachers would probably agree with that
and said that I was talking to one teacher who thought they should have more ability to manage themselves, and less sort of top down.
That's something I've noticed a lot this year with my new school district. First of all, like I used to have complaints about my administration all the time. I don't have any complaints about my administration.
That's always nice.
Yeah, in right now anyway.
In Vermont, yeah.
Right now. I don't know, it's just like a different culture and a different, kind of like what you just said. They want like more control of like your stuff. Not saying like, but like, my classroom's my kingdom. Like, you know what I mean? Like, as long as I'm not doing anything heinous in here, like, I'm a professional. I've gone to college. I've gotten past the tests. Like, I had to pass 6 tests to be a special ed teacher, like, and get a bachelor's degree. You should be able to trust me. I felt like sometimes in Claremont, it wasn't like that so much. It was kind of a gotcha game. And if there's not, if we put more, I had a talk with a school board member from Claremont. I'm not going to disclose his name, but he talked about how we need to spend our dollars as much as we can and possible with people who work with kids in one-on-one.
Yeah.
Like, or have interaction with kids and not like are doing like the bloated paperwork stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I understand you need people to do that job, but it's kind of like the same issue we have in healthcare right now, right? Like we have the private insurance industry and we have a giant bureaucracy, but if we just took out the middleman and just like gave care to people, it would be a lot less complicated.
Yeah.
And there would be some jobs lost, but you can have a jobs program and make sure people
there's
have
ways
jobs.
you could fix that.
Yeah,
definitely.
You don't need, like I've never heard, it's same type of deal. I've never heard anyone who's gone on the phone and been like, yes, I have to talk to my insurance company.
Yeah, right.
Same type of deal with SAU offices sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, I have to talk to the SAU office.
Yeah.
Great day today.
My favorite high school teacher, his class, we had to walk like the farthest, it was like in just the farthest end of this one building. And one time we were like, hey, Mr. Bachelor, did you do something to like get in trouble with the administration because your like class is so far from the rest of the school? And he was like, no, that's just how I like it.
Yeah,
You have to walk far to talk to me. So.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
But yeah, I don't know, man. It's a good conversation.
How was the football team? How was the football season? So
this past football season, it's funny, we can go back to that because we had to do sports with like no busing.
Yeah.
This year I still coached in Claremont. I coached football and I did unified and I coached throwing for track.
Oh, cool.
I coached discus and I coached shot put and javelin. And but this year was difficult. It was my first year. Like we had to organize travel. Sometimes we had enough money for football because we've raised a lot of money to like pay for a bus. So we could go to the school district and be like, here's the money that it would normally cost, and we could get a bus because if we had to go, we go to Somersworth, we play Epping.
Yeah.
So
how much does the bus cost?
it was like $500.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it's just
Yeah. But that's how much I guess.
Diesel plus the driver.
Yeah. You have to pay the bus driver. And then this spring for track, we don't have the kind of money we don't have that money for track for like we do for football. It's just like the community doesn't invest in much in track as it does in football. So we had to figure out getting kids to the games through their parents, and then like if they don't sign it, they had all signed waivers to like ride with parent. It was a kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Like and
how many kids did you have to manage that for?
Football, it's like we had like 30.
Wow.
Yeah, and then track was less, like in the teens. But riding with parents, helping out, like it's really community. Like
it's probably good community building.
It is. It was great community. Yeah. And the only reason coaches got paid this year was because companies in Claremont donated.
Yeah.
Like I still got paid for all my coaching, but it wasn't from the school district. It was because people donated to fund sports in Claremont this year. And that's another question. It's still they keep promising us that it's going to be fully funded next year, but it still hasn't been. It's still at $1 for the sports
for all the sports.
Yeah, for next year. Yeah, but they've promised they're going to move other monies around. Blah 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 blah.
What was the budget this past year?
Well, 0.
It was.
Yeah.
So the budget
previously it was 600,000 or something.
Budget goes to cover mainly the buses.
It covers buses, paying coaches. Paying referees.
Oh yeah.
Pay the referees. Athletic director.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. Although that might be in a separate line. The AD, I don't know, honestly.
Yeah.
But I knew it was to pay all the coaches which I know, like, I've had some people, well, why don't you coach for free? And it's like, this is high school sports. I practice every single day. It's intense game planning. Like, I love coaching. Don't get me wrong, and I don't get paid that much.
Yeah, you're not getting paid.
But like,
$1 million.
I kind of like, you know, the money is kind of like, it's kind of nice. It's a stipend I get at the end of the season.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of bummery if I didn't get
Well,
that.
and it's standard.
Yeah,
for all sports coaches.
Yeah, well,
in the country.
in high school.
Yeah, in high school at that level.
Yeah, at that level, you know, if I, but, you know, so the budget was, it was like $600,000 to fund sports. And then when the whole stuff went down, they're like, we're not funding sports. We had to cut sports. They did technically cut sports, but the community donated money to fund it all year. Yeah. There was, I don't know it exactly, but there was some massive donations from some companies in Claremont to keep the sports going.
Interesting. Yeah, that's great.
Well, Claremont, you know, if there's one thing that will, it is a divided town. It's split pretty much between like Democrat, Republican, if you want to look at like conservative, like it's really like a split. But sports, don't touch the sports, man.
Yeah.
They love the sports.
Yeah.
They want like everyone in the town, when they don't always come at the beginning of the season, but if there's like a team in a big game or in a championship game or like in a playoff game at home, it's packed.
Yeah.
Like, so that's going to be a big thing too, because people are already talking about it, like to the school board, like, do we have the funding for the sports yet? Do we have the funding for the sports yet for next year? Because coaches have already kind of said, like, we don't really want to do this again next year.
Like trying to drive people.
It's just a lot, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you run into a lot of liability issues, and it's just too much. And every other school is still, and we were promised that they would be funded.
Yeah.
So that's also going to be coming on too, because they need to figure that out. But it was difficult.
Yeah.
To operate a sports team.
How did the kids do? How was the football season?
We were 3-5. So we started 3-0.
Yeah.
And then we beat Fall Mountain, and we beat Newport, and we beat Kearsarge. And then we lost 5 in a row, 3 of the games by a touchdown. We lost to Laconia by a touchdown. We lost, we got smoked by Somersworth and Monadnock.
Yeah.
But, you know, we have most of our guys coming back.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this season, we've already been doing workouts and stuff. So
sweet.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Matt, for giving us the Claremont update.
Yes, for sure.
Hey, man, we'll see you soon.
Yes. John Kuiper.